Hey everybody, I'm Axel, the Wonder Shredding Witch. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you're all having a wonderful week so far. Today I'm going to be talking about my favorite cemeteries or graveyards in fiction. As always, I would love to hear about your favorites in the comments below, and if you could do all the other things to please the algorithm gods, I would vastly appreciate it. Otherwise, on to today's list. Coming in at number 5 is the Keyblade Graveyard. I really like the aesthetic of this graveyard, and I know that's weird, but it's like the Game of Thrones throne kind of everywhere, and so it's just really fucking neat. Keyblades are one of my favorite fantasy weapons, video game weapons in general, so it was just a really unique kind of thing to see them strewn about everywhere, and then it leaves a certain kind of message. When there's a war or a battle and you leave like the battlefield as a monument, as a scar, as a reminder to hopefully not do it again, or for, somebody not to step out of line. There's so many reasons that you could leave it there as a message, and it's just a powerful one, so it's very fascinating to me. Coming in at number 4 is the Graveyard of Hallowville from the Villains Vignettes. So it is newly released, so if you have not read or listened to the Villains Vignettes from the Villains Code, please skip to this time if you do not want a spoiler. Otherwise, okay, hopefully they're gone if you didn't want spoilers. Otherwise, at your own risk. The Graveyard of Hallowville has some very unique properties. Straight up being able to reject death, to where if you die in the Graveyard of Hallowville, you become like a ghostly spectator, akin to a video game where if you're on a team and one of you dies, sometimes you're able to see how your team is doing for the remainder of the match. And I found that really fucking, it's cute, it's neat, it allows for some extra gratuitous violence without actual fear of death, and I was here for it. And so I just found the whole concept really neat, especially because the whole concept of Hallowville in general as a theme park takeover town sort of thing, that whole Halloween special that we got from Hallowville, I was just in love with. So I highly recommend everyone go read this because it's great. Coming in at number 3 is Hollow Forest in Ashes, and I know technically it's not a graveyard, but this is my list. And because Angela was deliberately sent here to release her brother's ashes, I can't believe that she is the first one to ever try and do this. So I wonder how many people have been released there, and also how many people become permanently a prisoner there, or whatever. I can't remember what they're called. It's been a minute. I don't remember if it's like a stain or what it's called. I'm so sorry, but I feel like there's been enough death there for it to be considered a burial ground of some nature, and so I just wanted to mention it because it is a very unique place, and places where people are very often sent to go release ashes generally has some kind of spiritual significance, and I just am really interested in concepts like that versus a traditional burial ground or graveyard. It's just neat. Coming in at number 2 is probably the most mundane of all of the graveyards, and that is Graceland in Chicago in the Dresden Files. I don't know if that's a real cemetery or graveyard. However, I do think that the fact that one of his enemies at the beginning buys him a gravestone is just the baddest bitch move in the fucking world. It's such a power move, and I'm so here for it. And the fact that he kind of visits his own grave is pretty interesting. And if I'm not mistaken, it says something, there's like a pentacle carved into it, and then it says, Harry Dresden, he died doing the right thing. And that sticks with me, alright? That shit was legendary. I wish I remembered the villain that did it, but they're a legend. And it's just such a great power move. I'm sorry I don't remember the villains. He has a lot of enemies, okay? He has made a lot of enemies over the books. and I'm sorry I can't remember. Maybe I'll put it in the comments over here. I'll look it up and I'll put it below as a little word. Anyhow, such a power move. Wish more people did. Anyhow, rambling aside, it's a power move, and I wish more villains kind of crossed that line and kind of did shit like that, because it was awesome. Coming in at number 1, last but not least, is the Kakariko Village Graveyard. The amount of time that we get to spend here and the amount of lore that is here is just amazing. For having it be such a relatively small area, it's just so full of all sorts of lore, from the writing on the gravestones, from playing Zelda's Lullaby to open one, the pose, Dampé, racing a ghost for the hook shot or the long shot. I don't remember which you acquire in that moment, but it's just very fascinating. And then on top of that, you're going into the Shadow Temple and underneath the whole town by the well, and this whole underground torture chamber that the royal family and the Sheikah had, and it's just really fucking cool, and again, really rich with lore. So I will always really appreciate how much they put in this graveyard. And so it had to be the first one on this list, or the number 1 spot on this list. Anyway, that's all I have for you guys today. I hope everyone has a spectacular spooky season, a happy Halloween, a blessed Samhain, and a happy Dia de los Muertos. I think that's when I will see you guys next. So until then, spread all the love.